Full spiritually or full belly full from the food?
I mean, let him speak for you.
D, all the above, right?
Yeah. You ask him, he'll show you.
Okay.
I do feel filled spiritually. I feel filled spiritually. I feel. And it's interesting because that's what keeps me going and that's what holds me back. I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keeps you going and holds you back.
Simultaneously, depending. All right, we're gonna stop. Babe, please, babe. You're loud.
Wait, I'm gonna drink a little water because I got a little nervous for a second.
This is the stress. When I used to record, no matter what relationship I've been, no matter where in life, this is the stress. Everybody seemed to just.
And only at the time of recording.
Yeah.
Turn it up.
And then what? What do you mean? Okay. You know what? I feel.
That's what moves you forward?
Well, this is a good example of that. I think there's a lot of things that I am trying to control. And when things don't go my way, I feel.
Yeah.
That's the holdback. And when I'm able to be in the flow, I feel. And that's the motivation. So I think what God's doing for me right now is giving me an opportunity to see what it looks like to not cease control. Because what happens when you allow things to be, whether they feel uncomfortable, whether they feel discouraging, whether they feel not right, you're still able to process and go through the flow. I feel. So I'm gonna throw a topic out there. We're just gonna talk about it, and let's say maybe try to hit 5 minutes. We can think in our mind what 5 minutes may sound like.
Sure.
And then we'll go to the next topic. We'll flow on it, and boom. So the first topic I think we've already talked about was what's your grief story.
Yeah.
So
I've got a different grief story to tell this time.
tell me.
Is that okay?
Talk.
All right. I am currently grieving, full transparency, addiction.
Yeah.
So death to my drug addiction, death to alcohol addiction. Yeah. And so in a real way that I didn't expect is, I was in denial about how, my addiction plummeted and bent my life, my kids' life. And
You say so much denial that I didn't even know. I knew, but I didn't know.
Yeah.
I'm a twin.
Yeah.
The whole ass addiction.
So much
I knew
denial,
I
wait a
didn't
minute. She's what? Let me get down here to the house, yeah.
know. So when you say it's dead, what do you mean?
I am dead in the sense that the first stage is recovery and then you're sober, right? For me, dead in the sense that, and this is like a knock on wood, a proverbial knock on wood, I don't feel or need, I used to always fight wanting to use.
You said you know what?
I don't feel the need to want to use.
You know what?
Feel the need. I don't feel. Okay. I don't feel, and I jumble it because I'm humble. It's not ego, and it could come back like that. But I do feel that I have truly been delivered from my addiction, and so a grief and a goodbye, in a sense. Here's the casket. There's the grave, buried. Not every second thinking about not using.
Yeah, because I'm sure and I'm just speaking from I feel like speaking my truth.
Yeah.
There was points in my life where I was feeling like maybe there was an addict in me coming to the surface, because there were times where I wanted to.
Right.
I wanted to.
Insert here.
I wanted to.
Insert here.
I wanted to.
Insert here.
And I didn't. I knew I wasn't supposed to, but I don't know. But maybe I should. Fuck it. I just will. It's not I want to, I will.
I will.
The transition between I want to I will. And then as it continues to go forward, it left me particularly with, this doesn't even fit me.
Yes.
Is that the death part?
Yes. It doesn't even fit me. It's not like, dang, I can't believe I did that. It's like, these clothes don't fit. This
Nah,
no
used to-
longer serves. I thought this was a good look.
I used
but,
to go to the club in these things.
This
but
is not the look.
don't even-
Yeah.
feel
It is. It's that type of epiphany. Absolutely. And the grief part of it, and thank God I feel like I'm in the accepting it,
okay.
is saying goodbye to the crutch of addiction and saying goodbye to the blame I put on my DNA that carried addiction to me,
The blame you put on your D.
on our DNA,
That's
because we
shame.
have.
No, that's
No,
you're blaming.
I used to
Oh,
say, well,
you're
my
saying-
father was an addict, so of course I am. I
That-
went through this such and such trauma. I should be able to use an escape.
That which arise, that which came in uninvited, you looked at it and said you came from a place, and not only did you not interact with that which arrived, but you looked behind it and said you brought it here.
Yes. Wow. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And did they reply back?
At all. And why are you looking for the living amongst the dead? At all.
Quick insert, today's obviously Easter Sunday. We went to church today. I thought it was this was a great weekend, but I
Yeah.
thought this was a good cap, I think. And
Yeah.
what you're saying, why are you looking for the living amongst the dead? The woman came to the tomb preparing Jesus' body
Yeah.
so they could take him as they would do in their normal customs. Why are you looking for the living amongst the dead? They saw an angel, that which is not there but was there.
Yes. Why are you looking for the living amongst the dead?
So if we go to those things that which we are addicted to, as least that we perceive it to be,
Yeah.
why are we looking for the
There
life
is no God in that substance.
in the dead?
Why? Why are you looking for this? Insert any addiction you have here. This food will not bring you out.
And even at the addiction,
You know?
even and it certainly won't bring
That
you
brownie
out.
didn't bring me out.
Certainly not. Certainly not. But also to think about like dynamics of relationships too. Why are you looking for the living amongst the dead? Why do you keep going to the place where you know you don't need to go, looking
Right.
for life to arise because you feel the urge
Right.
to activate it?
Right.
Why are you looking
Why?
for life in dead places?
Woo. Yep. Why?
And then beyond that, because the word says that they went to the tomb and the angel spoke and said those words.
Yeah.
And then they left.
Yeah.
And I think that's key.
Yes.
Why are you looking for the living? Why are you going to a place where you know you shouldn't be?
Yeah.
You need to.
Leave.
Why not?
And in church today, I love the visual that that Haven had, where it had us looking like as if we were in the tomb, out towards a green pasture.
Yeah, like,
And I love that perspective in the sense of looking at my past and stepping forward.
ooh, the transition.
Yeah, because you mentioned that before with respect to grief with Dad, or Tank, rest in peace, both of them. But like,
Certainly so.
what it was a challenge to step forward from the pain and sorrow of their physical beings leaving us, and so.
So interesting because like you have that experience, and mine is on the opposite spectrum. We're twins, so I suppose it's supposed to be that
Yin and
way.
yang.
Because I never really looked at death like, even when I saw Dad's body, I
Yeah.
just looked and I was like, I see him, but I don't see him. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I remember when I went to the place where they have the body, where you go to the visitation, right before I had walked in, I was like, okay, what is this going to be like to see my father in a casket? I just spent time with him. I know his smile. I cut his hair
Everything.
right before I had left. I remember cut his hair, the little gray hairs were falling off. Like, you know what I'm saying? And then I walked, strange thoughts, but these are the thoughts that I was thinking. And I walked into the facility and I saw the casket. To my left, I saw Nana and them sitting there, sadness. I saw family, sadness, and kind of everybody was just kind of there, but not there.
Right.
And as I walked up with Hazel in my hand, I walked up and saw the body, but I didn't see my father. I saw the body, but I didn't see my father. And I kept looking at the body, trying to evoke my father to come through, staring at him, seeing if he could come through. Why am I looking for the living amongst the dead? And it just hit me when Wayne walked up and I seen him start to cry.
Yeah.
And it broke me. And I questioned myself, Trevor, why aren't you crying?
Why?
I hadn't, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was just such an interesting thing. So when you say, you know, your perspective on how death was, and I share my perspective, it's so interesting how they're like dancing in the dark.
Yeah. Yes.
And now we come to the light of this discussion.
Yeah. And a dance in the sense of when you talked about Wenwei crying and why are you not, I often look to you as a source of strength and to hold up, especially when I'm down. And I immediately thought you didn't cry so that you could be there for Wenwei. So you could be there for everyone else, you know.
Call to action.
Yeah.
Call to duty.
And in ways you were always making Dad proud with your actions. So being, you know, I ain't gonna cry right now, you know.
you know, it's such an interesting story because, like, to your point, I think there was probably a subconscious part of me, an activation, like just floating through life, so to speak. This sense of like the spirits carrying me, Dad carrying me, ancestors carrying me, without too much conscious knowledge. But there was a point where I did look at Wayne and I honored him because he is the first.
Yeah.
This is the father that birthed him first, you know. And so I felt like he had to have that space to grieve.
It was his.
And I remember I went to when I went back to Chicago to go back to the house, just to go look at the house, see where Dad died. And I went upstairs to the room in which it happened, and I saw this watch that he used to wear, this little skinny, you know, watch kind of similar to this. And he would always put it on and get ready to go to church and all those things.
Jesus.
And I'm like, you know, man, he thinks he's cool. Not as cool as me, but he thinks he's cool. And I respected the fact that he thought he was cool. Like, it just elevated.
His swag came to make him happy.
You ever seen somebody, you like, first you put me in contact, you're like, what they get, it ain't it.
It ain't it.
But they felt it was it.
You can't tell him nothing with that
feel.
watch. So therefore I am.
That part. And so I took the watch because that was an heirloom I thought that I could keep with me. And when I got to the funeral, and not to the funeral, but to the visitation, I saw Wayne, it hit me. Wayne, this is yours.
Oh, did you? Oh.
Yeah, it's yours. And so I say all of that to say that's my grief story. I think it was just like passing through time.
Yeah.
But when I listened to you share your story, even when I remember calling you and telling you Dad passed, the scream I heard, like it was just kind of like leaning into something to see how real the feeling of death was and not still being able to. I never felt the realness of him leaving because I think
my scream was.
It was, but I think there was such a closeness between Dad and I that he didn't feel like he was gone. Yeah. I was almost challenging. You're gone. I could look at the casket like, you're gone, and I didn't.
Like, what you mean? You're indestructible. So what do you mean T-Lace is gone?
Even beyond that, like, there's 3 points. When will I see them? Where are they at? What do I know about them? When will I see them?
Well, not to cut you off, but with the call, like you said, when you called to tell me Daddy had passed and I screamed, when will I see them? I don't know if you remember me telling you all that I was in a dream. So before you called me, I was dreaming that I was a little girl with 3 women and Dad was in a chair and I was standing there with Daddy and I had grabbed his hand and like a, shimmery part of him stood up and there was a being in the chair. So I grabbed his hand and like I pulled him up and I turned and the phone's ringing. So when you called and told me Dad was dead, it was a shock that Dad's dead, but it was a shock like, it was a shock.
It's a collision of the worlds.
Well, because God is so real. You got to go home and be with Daddy. You know what I mean? You spent time with Dad, whereas, I didn't have much time with Dad. I feel like there's a peace of mind that God will give you so you can cope with the passing. But also, our gifts, many parts, one body. And I think with my gift of sight, ancestors let me be there with our father in a transition.
Yeah, honor.
Know, and also maybe comfort.
Honor.
Because we don't know what the other side is like. But as a little girl, I grabbed his hand. So when you called, said Dad passed.
That wasn't just panic. That was awe.
This is awe. The Most High is so real that we're all connected.
Like the shrieking of the angels in heaven.
Yes. Like, so God, you don't allow this. So, because it was a shock. It was awe. It went to conversations Dad and I had about him passing, what it would be like. And then, do you remember, I think shortly after the funeral, you finally told me where he passed and that he was in a chair. Yeah. And I was like, wow. So where is he? Where are they at?
Wow.
the reason why I can close the door and talk about addiction this time around, and not so much daddy's. The fact I'm talking about daddy is we're coming a far way.
Last time we recorded, it was a whole. Even before that, it was a whole.
Yep, I'm never coming back. Let's
it was one of those things like.
I'm gonna cry.
It's like one of those things like you're so excited. I'll give you a metaphor. You're so excited because you just found a new steak outside. You're like, oh my God, I'm so excited. But you know when you bring it to Trevor, he's gonna lose it.
Yeah, he's not. We're not going to.
So you can talk about addiction. I can't talk about touching snakes. That's all I'm trying to say. I can't stand them.
Right there.
Period. The end.
Period.
But I'm so glad. I am so glad that your
where is he at?
Adventure, your quest has brought you to this point where you're talking in a mannerism of exploration, giving, love, proof, testing, resilience, hope, all these different tentacles that are connected to what you're talking about. And the matter what you talk about came because you went through your journey.
Yeah, it kind of ties to what you preached when you did Dad's eulogy, and when I came behind you and said our Father had gifts. Yeah. It's a matter of there's battles that Dad fought, right? And a battle that I was chasing in my grief to go with him in, which was not rational. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna also be an addiction man. You know, I'm gonna also do this. I try to pray and save Dad from addiction like a fool, you know, and so I didn't find it until, you know, so it's like grief took me to places that I didn't even know existed. And as I come out looking for the living amongst the dead, our Father in no way would say, Tree, come on and live unrighteously. Our dad would never approve that.
Grief took me to places I didn't even know existed.
And I'll tell you, in those rooms, in those places, in the depths of addiction, people would say to me, what are you doing here? You don't belong here. Why are you looking for the living?
Amongst the dead.
You're gonna preach in a jail.
You know he
what
is
are you
risen?
Right.
Why haven't you?
What haven't you risen? And so and you said that in our last go round, and I've taken that as a challenge. I give homage to you, my big brother. In our last sitting here, you said that why are you looking for the living amongst the dead? And you said you don't think God values you enough to see past your grief. Mm-hmm. So then I realized I was putting anything in my pain or physical above God. And I wasn't even giving it to him. I wasn't giving my grief to God. I was bitter that I had to even go through grief.
No.
Yeah.
No.
This is my grief, God. No. I don't want to be better. This is mine.
No.
No. This is mine. Yeah, so where are they at? He is okay. Dad is okay. Dad is okay. Yeah. So, and when will I see them? I will tell you this, that not to talk too much, I'm hijacking. We said short time. Can I tell you one more thing? Mm-hmm. Okay. When will I see them? 2 weeks ago, I had a dream. And I don't know if you remember, before the chemo and everything, I said, Trevor, I had a dream about somebody pulling someone. And you said, Dad didn't look well. Do you remember that?
I'm thinking through.
Okay, well, that was long ago. Fast forward. When will I see them? 2 weeks ago, I had a dream. And a figure, it was dark. I will not say it was Dad's face, but it was Dad's height. It was a little walk.
Yeah, shoulders.
Yeah. And I heard, and I look up, and he embraces me. And like a little girl, and I was hugging. And I just heard, and it could be my healing, it could just be I needed this. But in this dream, this what I feel was our Father hugged me. Yeah. You'll be all right. And I thought I called you and told you, and he said, tell Trevor I'm proud of him. Yeah, until when we let go. So when will I see them? I see Daddy now in ways that give me peace. Yeah. I don't have to ascend or go to the other side. Yeah. Our gifts allow me to see Dad when he wants to still work.
Something about the spirit. The spirit is so interactive. It's intimate. It's subtle. It's loud. It is exactly what we need when we need it. When we see them again, if you start talking about the ones you love, they come to mind. When will you see them again?
Yeah.
When the women left the tomb, they went to go talk about what they witnessed. When will I see
They
them
didn't
again?
stay at the tomb. You're right.
And they went to go talk about what happened.
Yes.
When will I see them again? The disciples become aware that Jesus was not in the tomb.
Yes.
When will I see them again?
Yes.
And he granted the favor to come visit them during the transitional period. Jesus came to Thomas, the one who doubted him, so Thomas could look upon his hands to see when will I see them
Thomas,
again.
you see?
Jesus came to the water while they were out there fishing and trying to find fish, and they were casting it out and they couldn't. And they saw Jesus, and Peter said he saw Jesus. When will I see them again? It's in the story.
Yeah. And that means a call to action in us. That means if someone is saying, when will I see her again? When will you see them again? Do you see the Jesus in me? Do you see the God in me? I feel like it's a call to action on my daily living, which is why I can shut the door with addiction, which is why, you know, our next podcast, I won't even be grieving it. It'll just be yesterday.
Yeah. And there's probably conversation around, like, what is the extension of grief? I don't know if it's a matter of that. I just think that grief is, it was once told to me, grief is like having a lot of love to give, but nowhere to give it.
Yeah. And I think it has varieties. You know, Tank and Dad passed suddenly with no warning. So then you grieve the shock of the passing, and then you grieve there's no more Christmases, there's no whatever future plans you have.
Yeah.
But then I imagine, remember when great grandmother F passed, when the family knew, she was, there was hospice or big grand day that was already coming.
Different stages of different
able to
experiences.
say goodbye could sometimes give you a little more peace.
Some would say that, and depending on what the journey is with the person, and if we can try to put a grateful bow on this, just with the scripture, and we're going to walk through it together and just let God use us. The Lord is our shepherd. To shepherd means to care.
Yeah.
We shall not want.
That's it.
Which means he has all that we need.
Yeah.
He maketh us lie down. What comes to your heart when you hear that? He maketh us lie down.
Two things: reverence and rest. Reverence, and we lie down to bow before him, to know that we are not in control. We are not the powerful ones. We know nothing.
Humility.
Yeah, humility. And also, he lays us down, because sometimes we need to rest. I like to lay down because God gonna wiggle me like a baby. Come lay down.
My soul.
Yes, rest.
Where the Spirit is.
Where the Spirit is.
There is liberty.
Tea like twins.
That part. Oh, I think that's a good place to stop.
Yeah.
That's enough.
Yeah.
That's enough.
Yeah.
I love you.
I love you too, T. I love you, twin.
Love you. Why did it take me so hard to get up?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
You said.